So we have looked at different business policies, we have looked at individual plans, we have looked at different public policies. Now we come to our focus, which is social policy. So what is social policy? So social policy is related to the provision of social services to our population. So, and another definition of social policy is that it's the study of the welfare state. So there are two types of definitions of social policy. So social policy as a policy and social policy as a discipline. So social policy as a policy will be focusing on welfare state, provision of different services, study of the welfare state, and the discipline will of course focus on the research. One can argue that every policy is a social policy because it affects the social services of the state, of the social services that are provided to the people by the state. For example, fiscal policy. Of course, if government has more money, it can provide more facilities to the people, more social services to the people. So fiscal policy is of course linked with the provision of social services. Similar is the case of monetary policy. Similar is the case of foreign policy. So if we have good relations, we can get loans. So again, government has more money, so it can provide more services, for example, education or health to the people. So one can argue that every policy, whether it's fiscal policy, monetary policy, agriculture policy, foreign policy, it's linked to the provision of social services. But social policies are those policies that are indirectly every policy is linked, but social policies are those policies that are directly linked with the provision of social services. So the main social policies which are included by the scholars, experts of sociology, are education policy, health policy, housing policy, employment policy, provision of employment, gender policy, meaning by how to come up with gender equality, criminal justice policy, family policy, what type of family government wants to encourage, whether it's extended family, whether it's nuclear family, whether government has no policy. It doesn't matter to the government that there's people are marrying and having kids or not. So this is going to be a policy for the government. Social security policies. Is the government ready to make some provision for the people who don't have much money in the old age? So all these different social policies have to be discussed in this course. So we have looked at the policy cycle. Now we look at the social policy cycle. So how social policy is made. So usually social policy starts with a social problem. So people are dying because of smoking. So what should be the way out? How people should be stopped from smoking? So there needs to be a policy. Or there is a social need. So the water is decreasing. So what should we do? How will we increase the water? Or there are areas where there are no schools or no girls' schools. So what does the government do? So there is either a social need or a social problem. And government recognizes that and it comes up on the agenda. And then there is, of course, the policy proposals and policy options that are presented to the decision makers. Okay, we will do this. We will, increase the tax on cigarettes or make more schools for girls. So this is the way how to do it. Then the policies are implemented once the decisions are made. And eventually then, of course, after 2, 3, 5 years, the policies are evaluated. So we increase the taxes on cigarettes. Did it result in less deaths by smoking? Did it decrease the sales of cigarettes? On the basis of this evaluation, we can change the policy. So what is the social policy discipline? So social policy discipline is what we have to study all these policies, and it is interdisciplinary because when we are looking at different policies, we have to look at, we can't limit ourselves to sociology. We have to look at economics. So where the money is going to come from, we have to look at statistics to look at the data. So all these things have to be looked into. It's an interdisciplinary subject, and it's a late arrival in the sense that people were not concerned about social policy because there were no social policies. It's a subject that primarily developed after the Second World War, after the 1940s. It is primarily based on sociology, but we, as I explained, we use techniques and data from different areas and different disciplines. Thank you.